Now, I'm a professional technologist. I can build you a computer, code you an app, or design a website for you. But that also means that I'm my family and my technologically challenged friends, 24/7 remote and sometimes on-site tech support guy. And there's nothing more annoying than a 2 a.m. call asking, "Hey man, how do I change the Wi-Fi?" It's the worst. But I have very little formal training. I got here today because I blazed my own trail, and I'm going to share my story with you all. But to do that, I have to go way back to when I was a child, when I actually first saw a computer for the first time. I was 4 years old, and my grandfather brought in this big, just ugly gray box, and it had a TV attached to it, or so I thought. And I could not care less. I didn't care, but he was showing us all this stuff on there that he was excited about. He said, "Oh, and let me show you how to get to the games." And as soon as he said that, I peeked up. I was like, "Wait, games? What do you mean, sir?" So he taught me and my brother's command prompt and showed us how to get to the games. And there were only 2 of them on there. I only remember one, but I was just like completely enamored with it. I had this other thing that I could play games on, and this thing called command prompt that he showed me, it was like a trivia game or something. You had to type in the right commands to get to the real games, and it was like, yeah, this is really exciting. But as I grew a little older and more mischievous, I just had more questions about it, because it was like this cool box that did have games on it and other things I didn't really use that much. But how did it really work? And when I'd ask adults, they'd be like, "Oh, well, it has silicon boards in there, transistors," and yeah, that's pretty much as far as they went. So I said, okay, I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna find out what's in there. So when nobody was looking, sometimes at night, just get a Phillips head, open them up and just look. And I always was looking for some magical component that like glowed green or blue and just like have all the answers I was looking for. And of course I never found anything like that, just a bunch of cords, wires, and hard drives that I had no idea what they were at the time. So I was like, well, I'll just unplug everything and plug it back in and figure out how it works. So I just grabbed all the wiring, just pulled, completely broke the computer and tried to turn it on. I was like, ooh, that didn't work. But I had a scapegoat, had a little brother. His name's Abdul. We call him Rudy in the family. So next day, and this was a recurring theme throughout my life, like next day, like, hey, the computer's not working. Who was on it last? Marzuwq, you were on it last. Like, what happened? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Rudy was on it though. Like, I don't know, you better ask that guy. And that really put a strain between me and my little brother. It started a rivalry, and we used to fight a lot because of that. And he actually used to beat me up more than I beat him up, but I'm the bigger brother, so everybody believed me. But I just kept doing this like all throughout my life until my adolescence, when I was a teenager, and that's when I actually became the tech guy in the family. The computers would break, and I'd get invitations to family members' house for holidays, like, hey, you wanna come to Thanksgiving at my house? And it ended up being a trap just for me to fix their computer. So that was really how I learned and just got my feet wet to begin with. And after that point, I actually landed myself a job in the industry. I was working in a warehouse at a retail store, and eventually they figured out like, oh, hey, you're a computer guy, you can fix computers for your family, you can do it for us. So I was like, oh, okay, good idea. So I went there and I worked there for a few years, just repairing broken computers and ones infected with viruses that came into the shop. And it was really good. I kind of memorized and understood exactly how the business worked. And there was a lot of respect I had just for like the craft and the industry as a whole that I developed at that time. However, it was very disheartening because I could see that I was on the outer circle of the technology world. Yeah, I could go ahead and, fix again, like pretty much any computer problem you bring to me, but there was so much more going on that I didn't understand. I didn't know how to design a website. I didn't know how to code yet, and I certainly didn't understand how networking worked at all besides changing the Wi-Fi password. So I formed one of the most self-destructive attitudes that a person can form. I stopped believing in myself. And at that point, I kind of just stayed on the outer circle for a while. And I still had dreams and aspirations of making a major tech firm one day and handling business, although I had no idea what industry it would be in. But my brother just gave me a wake-up call one day. My older brother, Ali, he's in the Marines, so he's like very straightforward, and he's someone that I like to listen to because even though he was in the Marines, he was living a life that I really respected. He was traveling the world, he loved what he did, and he was stayed true and very honest to his craft, being a Marine. And he just asked me, what's the plan? And I was like, I don't know. He said, well, I know you've been avoiding it your whole life because the family's been telling you, but just go to school, get a 4-year degree, and take it from there. And verbally, I agreed with him. I said, okay, seems like the best course of action. And it is a good course of action for some people, but I knew it wasn't right for myself because when I like to do something, I like to fully commit to it and say, I'm 100% all in. But with that decision, I just couldn't. So I just kept doing what I'd done before. I just kept doing the computer repair thing, freelance at this point by myself. But I got a wake-up call not too long after in the form of a car accident, which almost cost me my life. It's the passenger, and basically I have scars all over my body still from that accident. And it put things into perspective. I knew that if I would have died that age, 24 at the time, I would have had nothing to show for my life. My gravestone would have basically said, this is a guy that procrastinated and failed to change the world because he was too busy having fun as a young adult. And that really sucked. And as soon, and I would say as soon as I got healthy, but it actually was before I got healthy again. Even before I picked up my freelance computer repair business again, I said, if there's one thing that's important to me is one, my family, and number two, making anywhere I am a better place. Being grown up here in Wilmington and living in Wilmington, I got to work. So immediately I went to the West End Neighborhood House and I helped out the actual West Side Grows Together program, where I learned a lot through service to the community. And more than trying to take a leadership role or occupy a space at this point, I just watched and I listened. And I just saw and took in a lot of information, not just about service itself, but about my community. And it's really there that I developed my love for the city of Wilmington. And at the same time, I was also given an opportunity with two friends of mine, two of my best friends, Vernon James and Tyrell Hoxter, to start a actual band called Native Arcade. They basically were two musicians and they loved what they did. And I said, hey, I can get us shows. And as soon as I said that, it's like we put money in their pockets. We just started, and we went for about a year, signed a major music licensing deal with a sports company down in Baltimore, and we saw a lot of success. But it was there in managing that operation that I really found my path. And it started when I wanted to expand our email list. So I said, I'm going to make some video games just to distribute to everybody on our list. And I began, and one day, friend Tyrell just kind of pokes his head in the room, said, what are you doing, bro? And I'm like, oh man, I'm coding this new game, and look at it. I can move this square all the way across the screen, and look how smooth it is. He's like, okay, how long have you been in here doing this? Said probably 12, maybe 15 hours, but look, man, I got 2,000 frames per second, it's crazy. He's like, have you showered? You all have to keep this a secret. I was like, I haven't showered in like 3 days. He just kind of backs away slowly. And he just said, kind of remind me of myself when I just first developed my love for music. Then I kind of said that, like, just kind of sunk in, and like, I just figured it out. I was like, okay, this is what I gotta do. Like, I love technology, I love games, and I'm ignoring my basic human needs by doing this right now. And when you're that passionate about something, I was like, okay, I have to go ahead and make a 10-year plan how to get this done. So I said, I'm going to make a game design studio. I'm going to make games that really matter and help people think. And then coincidentally after that, I heard of this program called Code Wilmington. And it sounded like a infomercial that you see on TV at 3 in the morning, because they promised so much. It was like, okay, we have like 12-week course and we'll give you all the education you need to start a job, and it's a low entry price, and if you need help financially, we'll give it to you. And I was like, I don't know about this. So I'd researched every single person that was on the website, and all of it didn't really check out at the time, but I didn't care. I submitted probably 3 applications and I actually got in. But as soon as I got in, it was like getting kicked off the mountaintop, because it was definitely one of the hardest challenges I've overcame in my life because of the way I see the world and the actual challenges presented there. It was harrowing. That's the best way I could describe it. We were the first class, so there were a lot of things that they kind of had to experiment on us with, but at the end of the day, they gave us exactly what they promised: an opportunity and a shot in a new industry, in the industry that we all loved, because you had to love it to be there. And just to compare it to anything, I have to say, like, being at Zip Code Wilmington was kind of like just being attacked by 3 bears every single day. It was very difficult, and the teachers had no mercy. Absolutely no mercy, and they couldn't, because of the amount of time that we had to learn everything. But at the end of the course, I got 2 job offers. One was with a major bank here in Wilmington, and the other was with a small technology firm. And I was like, okay, it's great. So I went ahead and took the job with the bank, and it was weird my first couple weeks, because being used to Zip Code Wilmington, I was kind of waiting for like my boss to just kick in the door like the teachers did, like, okay, we need this project done like within a week or the whole company's gonna fail, because that's the intensity which I was used to learning it. But it took me about 5 months to really realize that day was never gonna come, and just had to relax and just keep a professional demeanor. And I love my job, and it's done a lot for me and just my career in terms of where I'm heading right now. But to end, there was a poem that I read in high school, actually, by Robert Frost, called The Road Not Taken. And the last lines of the actual poem state that I took the road less traveled by, and has made all the difference. My career and my life are a direct reflection of that, and I'm not at my destination yet, but there's just some wisdom in those words. And it's not about your career path, the technology industry, or education in general. The real lesson I always perceived to be in those words were that you don't always have to take outside feedback in the standard routes that either your family, friends, society, or anyone else tells you. Our world, country, and our city are in need of very, I want to say, dramatic, but creative solutions right now to the problems we face. And with some of these, I think we could all benefit by using the road less traveled. Thank you for your time.